used to work at the National Audubon Society. I was a lobbyist there for a little while. I helped organize bird walks with members of Congress and congressional staff. I took a lot of pride in wearing that polo that had Audubon's name on it. And as I got to know the guy, that brand on my shirt felt like a brand on my skin when I learned that he enslaved my ancestors. What's in a name? The question is really worth asking. Does changing these names now 200 years later really matter?
Oh, that's a great shot. Can we go tighter on that gull? That bird has a Napoleon complex.
That is the Bonaparte's gull, and it's actually named after Napoleon's cousin, Charles Lucien Bonaparte.
Sorry, I mixed up my old white tyrants.
There are 5% of English bird names that need to be changed immediately. And of those names, the one that sticks out to me the most, Townsend's warbler.
It brings up a lot of questions. Why change these names? Who will choose the new names? Will everyone even accept 150 new bird names? I mean, 150 species is a lot of birds.
This is my first time leaving the United States, and I love that it's for birds. And there are so many beautiful birds in this country, and I'm really glad that I have a local guide that can lead the way.
Taki, how many birds have you managed to ban this year?
Oh, plenty. Audubon's warbler, Wilson's warbler, hoping to get the Townsend's warbler. Townsend, while he was a celebrated ornithologist and expert on birds, was a grave robber. He is often depicted as a well-meaning naturalist, but what they conveniently omit is that he desecrated the graves of indigenous peoples, collecting skulls to dabble in a little pseudoscience, just to affirm his own racial biases.
Townsend's warbler is not the only example of that, right? There are so many birds named after problematic people. To have a little bird that has been here forever, that's so beautiful and so important in the ecosystem and does an incredible migration and a journey, to have to hold that name and carry that around is insulting.
Its name just feels so heavy. It's just named after a guy who's like kind of an asshole.
There are so many birds heading that way. Let's go have a look.
As a local, I bet you see a lot of Townsend's warblers.
I feel like I used to see a lot more than I do now. You know, I really feel like birds such as Townsend's warblers are on the decline. You know, they might not be listed as endangered, but it doesn't mean that their population is not struggling. This is a good spot. I've seen them here before. Okay.
All right, let's set up.
They're definitely here. I can hear them.
Oh, what's that? False alarm. Sorry.
American goldfinch, yellow, but not our guy.
In all the time that I've been birding, I have never seen a Townsend's warbler in real life.
Me neither.
Oh, really?
I have been trying to see the Townsend's warbler for years, and I have been unsuccessful over and over.
I'm optimistic, but I'm also a realist, so I'm not getting my hopes up.
You know when you're in the car with a friend and that song comes on and you're dying to know what it is and you pull out the Shazam app to identify. That's what I always tell people that the Merlin app is like. It's like Shazam, but for bird song.
If there's multiple birds singing, it highlights
Like,
which
what are-
ones.
Yeah, that is the kinglet. Oh yeah, and the chickadees. These bird names, like the hundreds and hundreds of birds that are named after these people, are they all just monsters from the 1800s?
Oh, they're not all terrible people, but a lot of folks have asked, where do you draw the line, right? And I think it's easier just to rename them all than to pick and choose. You have your journal. Let me show you. So we know Townsend's history. Who else is there? Bachman sparrow. These adorable introverts use tools. Yes, tools. Like tiny feathery MacGyvers, prying pine cones open for snacks. Unfortunately, their name honors John Bachman, slave owner, and a man who spent his life trying to prove scientifically and spiritually that enslaving black people was justified. Clark's nutcracker. Every fall, these birds stash hundreds of thousands of pine seeds, then forget most of them. Their accidental gardening creates entire forests. Despite this iconic forgetfulness, they're named after William Clark of Lewis and Clark. This guy was an enslaver and the enthusiastic executor of the infamous Indian removal policy. Hammond's flycatcher, totally badass. They're also territorial. And males actually get into aggressive physical fights mid-flight by locking claws or beaks while in the air. Instead of a name that says, I'm an aerial MMA fighter, they're stuck with the honorific of William Alexander Hammond, American Civil War era Surgeon General who collected the skulls of non-white people to support his view that white men had superior brains and mental traits. Scott's oriole. This bright yellow bird spends its life protecting yucca plants and building intricate nests worthy of an Architectural Digest cover. And yet, it's named after the guy responsible for the Trail of Tears, a genocide where thousands of indigenous people were killed or forcibly displaced. So not only does he have this beautiful oriole dedicated to him, there's even a monument in Washington, D.C. erected of General Winfield Scott on his horse.
What's that? Oh.
Come on, buddy. They say patience is a part of birding, right?
Essential part of birding.
It's hard to enjoy the benefits of nature when these encounters with birds serve as reminders of ancestral trauma.
So if I'm looking at the Townsend's warbler and I'm so excited to see a Townsend's warbler for the first time, and then in that moment where a Townsend's warbler is right in front of me and I think about who Townsend was, and then my heart sinks and that joy gets tainted or stolen from me because I knew that Townsend didn't like people who look like me. These spaces could be more inclusive and not just carved out for old white British men wearing Tilly hats.
Do I see myself represented in the birding community? Yeah. Maybe not as a gay man, but like in general, yeah. It can't just be me and people who look like me and sound like me who are doing conservation. That won't get us anywhere. Well, it hasn't got us anywhere. We're in major decline.
Birding means so much, especially when you're just getting started and your first question is, what's that bird and how did it get here? The endeavor that I have invested my life into just for it to come to this name that means nothing to nobody but 5 people. Everybody has a story about birds, but not everybody has space to share that story. And as an environmental educator, I felt that it was my responsibility to make space for folks to share those stories.
I went through a lot of postpartum anxiety, and being outside in nature and birding really helped me through all of that. And to now be able to share birding with my daughter is one of the greatest joys of my life, and to see how happy it makes her when she sees a bird and she points it out. It's so incredible. And to give her that nature and that outdoor experience that I didn't have growing up is really, really special. So, sorry, I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but it's really important. It's really important for me to know that as she's growing up, there's a safe and inclusive space for her in the birding world, for her to keep that joy that she has right now. And so for me, the significance of these bird names changing means a more inclusive future for our future little birders, like my daughter.
I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend Papakia. She's from Wasanich Nation and is using bird names to teach kids their Finchothan language.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to meet her.
Hi.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
I'm Papakia.
I'm Taiki.
So nice to see you. What are you looking at?
I had heard the Huhualish earlier.
No way, really?
Yeah.
That bird there is named after William Swainson, Swainson's thrush, who's a naturalist from the UK. But it's not always been that.
In the Sinjathan language, that bird, we call that the Huhualish, and that's the salmonberry bird.
Oh,
Yeah, I've never actually even known it as its English name. What were you saying? It's the Swainson's thrush?
Swainson's, but I love that you don't know its English name. That's great, honestly. Huhualish?
Yeah, Huhualish. Huhualish. So she has a specific role and job here in Husanich, and with her song, she ripens the berries. So she'll go from shrub to shrub, and she'll add the color to each berry, and that's really important for us here because the salmonberry, or Aliya, is a really staple food to our people here.
It must be so exciting to hear it being like, the berries, it's time, we're good to go.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time. I love harvesting food, so it helps me get myself ready and prepared for the harvest season, too.
Changing bird names is not a performative endeavor, not by any means. It's about improving bird names. It's about knowing better and doing better. It's the fact that these bird names connect people to the greater effort of environmental progress. When these names alienate people, we are losing allies in the collective fight for environmental progress. It's about time that we do better by birds and people.
It's just this very basic part of being a human. To hear birds, to see birds, to slow down and notice a bird. I think hearing a bird is a lot like hearing your own heartbeat or hearing the earth's heartbeat. You have to slow down and just watch.
As they consider these new names, I hope that they weigh and consider, more importantly, how these names can reflect how these birds present in nature.
In the UK, we have blackbirds. They're black. We have razorbills because they have a razor bill. Sparrowhawks because they're a hawk that likes to eat birds like sparrows. So we have birds that are named after the things they do, the places they live, and we gave those birds, in my opinion, appropriate names. North American birds seem to have been treated like trophies. What does a Swainson's thrush tell you about it? It tells you that a guy named William Swainson found it or had a friend who liked him enough to name a bird after him. Like, it doesn't tell you anything.
Her name is actually an onomatopoeia. It's a Huhualish. So we named her after her song, and that's what we would hear is the Huhualish, 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 Huhualish.
Oh, incredible.
And it just makes me think that, Townsend Warbler would have had a name prior to colonization that also would have represented something about it. So about its song or where it lives or the job that it does.
We're still hoping to see Townsend's warbler, but I think birding isn't always about seeing the bird. Sometimes it's about sitting in what it means if you don't, and what it means if you're too late. A bird name can tell you about its habitat, its history, its sound. These are the things that we know we will lose when we say this bird's name, when we are fighting for its protection. We want the marsh wren to have a marsh to be in. We want the kingfisher to have fish. We want the seagull to have a sea to gull over. It means a lot that warblers have trees to warble in. These names speak to the actions and speak to the habitat and history that we share with these birds.
People who have watched birds for any amount of time can tell that there are less birds, and you're seeing birds change their behaviors. You're seeing birds come at different times of the year. They are leaving at different times of the year. We're finding dead birds, seeing some really big changes and some really devastating things out in the field.
The Eskimo curlew is a heartbreaking recent example of that. I'm not fluffing anybody's feathers on the fact that Eskimo is an offensive and outdated term that Inuit communities find derogatory. But this moniker does beg the question, what's in a name? Does an offensive bird name matter if we never see the actual bird? There have been no confirmed sightings of this species since 1963. Their voices sounded like the distant jingling of sleigh bells. But now, all you hear is the silence they left behind. And yet, they are one of the birds listed by the American Ornithological Society, whose name will soon be changing.
I think a world void of birdsong, that silence would be so eerie.
You talk about how the marsh wren was difficult because it's like deep in its own habitat in the marsh. What makes it difficult to get the Townsend?
The Townsends is difficult because they like the cover of the canopy. They don't like being near the ground very often, and so they love that high cover.
I mean, I guess when you're in the penthouse, hard to, go to the basement, be with the ground dwellers.
Right? You can't
Whatever,
blame you can't blame them. But that means I'm pointing my camera up towards the sky. The bird's probably gonna be silhouetted against the sky, or else everything's gonna be really bright and it's not gonna look very good. So there's the artistic side to filming as well, right? You don't just want any shot.
Right.
You want a shot.
You don't want a cloaca shot. Like just like hole, like bird hole shot. You don't want that.
Exactly. You don't want that.
Right. Some people
nice
can identify
portrait.
birds by cloaca. Not me, but just some
I was
people
gonna say,
can.
who are these people?
There's a surprising silence.
There's nothing.
There's a little bit of
Absolutely
a-
silent. And then suddenly one starts, and then something else starts. The creeper will start, and then the nuthatch starts, and then the chickadee starts. I don't know the science. I wish I could know the science behind it, if there's actually evidence, but I just noticed that it just takes one or two to just kind of break through the silence, and then they're all just going for it.
Nature is a symphony, and we get to enjoy the orchestra.
Oh, there it is. Townsend's warbler. Somewhere.
Nice. Yeah, there it is. That is wild. It's not the first time I've gone looking for it, but it is the first time that I've had success.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And there he goes. And that's a wrap.
Yeah, I
Well
told you
done.
we'd get it.
Took us long enough.
You have little faith.
One part of me thinks biologists who spend their whole life studying these animals should be in charge of naming the birds because they know their behaviors. And then the other part of me thinks we should just leave it up to kids. So maybe like a committee of half really smart, like scientists and biologists, and half 5-year-olds. I don't know what I would rename the Townsend's warbler. That would be a question for my daughter. And she would probably say black and yellow. Cue the song, black and yellow, black and yellow. We can't get rights to that song.
Community conservation is the way that we bring back bird populations. And in order to get people from all parts of your community, they have to feel like they are included. Bird names is one way of doing that.
By renaming all of these species, we're just making it easier for people to get excited about birds.
When I had an opportunity to work on the American Ornithological Society's English Bird Names Committee, we looked at the question of what happens next? Who should be naming these birds next? And one of our recommendations was a group of folks from diverse backgrounds that represented north and south of the equator, different age groups, different educational backgrounds, different professions, because these are all of the folks that interact with bird names. So earlier you asked, what's in a name? It can be a compass for culture, geography, history. It can be a handshake or a slur. A name is a story. So the question we must answer now is, are we still proud of the one we're telling?